Hello and welcome to the show your parents, the PTA and the wokies don't want you to hear, the heliosblog. Today, Sneako brutally attacked by Destiny about his relationships. Let's get into it.
The reason she's alone is because she's difficult.
Women are not accepting the bare minimum.
Women fuck men they respect.
All the women who say things like, I'm strong, independent, I don't need no man, like, y'all impress me.
Women just gaslight each other and say what they want to hear.
When you've had it in, because you kind of put a lot of your life out there. So one of the questions, and I've got them in a random order, so we'll just kind of bounce around. But like, you put a lot of your life out there for people to see and speak about. Why did you decide to do that in the beginning? And have you ever regretted that, or do you think there's a benefit to putting your personal life out there?
I mean, initially my thought was that like, I'm a pretty open person and nothing really embarrasses me, so I don't care. And then
Low in agreeableness.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, has that always been the case?
Yeah, I don't know why. It's just kind of the person I am. I just don't care much about like I'm a pretty like internally driven person. Like it's not much to embarrass me. Like as long as I feel pretty comfortable with myself, I don't really care much what other people think. In terms of how it's worked retrospectively, I think it's probably gone pretty good. There's like there's pros and there's cons to revealing a lot about yourself. On one end, obviously people can attack you with a lot, but on another end, it people get to see a lot and they get more attached, and it makes you seem more authentic. Yeah.
You kind of have that way of managing it where they might have ammunition, but you do seem to just not really care about it. So if they do attack you on a personal level, it's almost as if it doesn't affect you so much. And maybe people that keep it more private, it affects them more if something comes out.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a double-edged sword. Like, because I'm so comfortable having everything out there, it doesn't bother me much. Now, if I was more private, it would probably bother me. But since I'm so comfortable having everything out there, it helps me navigate a lot of really technically, or a lot of complicated, like online situations. Just because everything's already out there. This sounds so silly, but it limits the leverage that other people can have over me quite a bit. So for instance, I just got in a huge fight with like a guy called John Zerka, and then an impressionable young adolescent prepubescent teenage boy called Sneako.
Okay, there it is. Finally, the attack has begun.
And one of the advantages that I have is that like both of these guys are obviously, they say one thing and they do a lot behind the scenes, and both of them will say things like, oh, like I can leak a lot of stuff about this guy, I'm gonna ruin this guy. And I was like, you can't, there's nothing you can say about me because everything about me is public already anyway. So it limits people's ability to kind of like threaten me or with me. And
I see. So Sneako is a little boy now. Well, again, I've called him the leaf that blows in the wind, so,
And it gives me the upper hand in a lot of those types of online, like back and forth spats. This is like drama oriented, not like serious political stuff, but it just, that's a helpful thing, I guess, is one way to look at it, yeah.
Does the drama side ever interfere with people's perspective on your politics? So if you're putting forward a point of view and you want people to respect it and understand it, does that drama side ever affect that sometimes?
Yeah, probably. I mean, everything is a double-edged sword, Like I catch some people with some content and I probably turn away people with the same content. So it's just a matter of balancing like what kind of audience do I want? What kind of audience do I not want? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I noticed that the way I'd see it is that, I think you putting all that sort of stuff out there makes me trust what you say more. It doesn't really, it just sort of makes me think you're a truthful person, so you tell the truth about things, whereas that is the main gripe I have about a lot of other people. I feel like the more conservative right-wing side is that things
like
tend to come out about them.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like, where I stand. Like, if some people's like, oh, like, this guy does open relations, he's a blah, blah, I was like, okay, sure. But I mean, like, at least you know where I stand. Like, I don't lie about it. I'm not out here.
Yup. Exactly. C*CK. Anyway. Let's do the shilling. Hit the like, hit the sub, hit all for notifications. Drop me a donation like Hunter M, Adrian R, Tom, and Bobby. Shout outs to you, most recent Patreon subscriber. Thank you. Go buy my books at bit.ly/heliosbooks. The most recent purchaser was Curry Kid. Thank you. My Patreon is patreon.com/theheliosblog. Share this video. Support me on the podcast by scrolling down after clicking the description link to support the show. Okay, shilling is done. Let's continue.
Here saying like I live one lifestyle and I do another thing, or I'm out here saying like, oh, like me and my wife have a perfect relationship. Like, yeah, we fight all the time over shit, right? So there's not like anything that can ever get leaked. Whereas other people will definitely admit, like, I do drugs, I fornicate in an or not, I shouldn't say unethically, but like I obviously religious people would have gripes with a lot of my lifestyle. But
Yup, Sneako.
Yeah, but I'm really open about it, so it limits the amount of exposing you can do about me,
Yeah, because I mean, Yeah, it's funny. All the people that do talk lots about relationship management, they tend to be very on the right wing, sort of red pill side. They tend to be very private about their relationships, and then something comes out like the Steven Crowder thing or whatever.
Yeah,
you can make of it what you will, but it's like they put on this, they present their perspectives on relationship, and they sound very good sometimes. Then yeah, when something comes out, it really is more damning. Whereas a lot of I've noticed is these people put their prescriptions of relationships. So they say, this is how a relationship should be. They'll look at someone like you and they'll say, open relationship, this means blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, open relationship. So, a man like Destiny, he could have just had a one-sided open relationship. He's a multimillionaire. He could do that. And he could find a girl that would agree with that. Your girl doesn't need to sleep around with other men for you to enjoy those benefits, because you have the benefit of being a high value man. Girls can't replace you. So
relationships doomed to fail, etc. But then they don't really show the fruits of their ideas. So they'll talk about all these relationships they have and how the dynamic is so good and blah blah blah, but they'll never really show you that relationship, and it makes me always think it's just cap. Like when I hear John Zerka talking about relationships, and I don't know how much of him is a character and how much of him's a real person, but
yeah,
he
almost certainly John Zerka is a character. He's doing it for likes, clicks, and views. Almost certainly. Most of what he says is probably a lie. That's my instinctive impression. I think it's all a lie, personally. Though he does have pickup videos, so I do think his ability to get girls is very good. I don't think that's a lie. But again, when you're 6'5" and physically fit, I mean, like, and you have a little bit of charisma, like it's not, girls sees you as Chad, so it's easy to get laid. Well, I mean, for a man. Compared to a girl, it's very hard to get laid, even if you're John Zerka. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, to me, it's just like, it's really a fun thing to hear you talk about that, but I know for a fact that is not how you're going to ever get married. You're never going to marry someone with the perspective him, Sneako, these people have. So,
actually, that's not true. If they have enough money, no, they could get married if they wanted.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, okay.
Okay, if there was a girl that married Pablo Escobar, there would be a girl that would marry John Zerka. You see? If one is a little bit worse than the other, just a little bit.
So I want to get into. Let me have a look here. Is that accurate to say that people on the right, despite differences of opinions, those people seem to be able to hold friendships with people they disagree with better than those on the left?
You can probably disagree with people opposite, but I don't think that I don't think that you can people on the right hate each other. People on the left hate each other. But it's easier to maintain cross-political chasm friendships because you expect people to not like each other. Like, arguably, for like me and somebody like Sneako, it's easier for us to maintain a sort of friendship because we know there's like a mutual level of like disrespect than it would be for me and like another leftist, right? Now,
interesting. Also, Destiny admitting that he's a leftist, like, again, well, I guess he's appealing to a certain kind of audience, right? By being the way that he is. So, again, it's for money, right? Like, I'll bet you that Destiny is actually quite RP, but he's using his debating abilities and so on. He's Machiavellian, right? He's playing both sides effectively.
Obviously, like Sneako, you can cross boundaries and it goes too far. But I think it's easier for people to keep politically differentiated friendships than politically similar ones, because the closer you are, the more likely you are to like purity test or do crazy shit like that,
That's interesting. Yeah, because I noticed those guys here, definitely like the red pill people, they seem to genuinely like you as a person, which is... I just find it surprising.
That really depends on who you talk to. Myron I respect as a person because despite how much I disagree with all of his lifestyle, like, he is very professional, he is very courteous, like, he's not going to do weird shit, like, he's pretty upfront with everything. A lot of the other red pill people are teenage girls, like Rolo, MLD, Donald and Sharp, Just Pearly thing. So I would say the majority of the red pill people probably don't like me right now. I do okay in their communities, but I hate most of these people are children.
Interesting. Again, these are ad hominems, right? But I assume in their dealings with people.
That's one other bit I wanted to talk about. So do you have any opinions on like the wider masculinity type of movement that isn't red pill? It's people like there's a guy called Corey Wayne, a guy called Attachment Allen. These are people, they talk about maybe masculinity and femininity as energies. They don't necessarily get so into like men need to be like this, women need to be like this. Talk about it more in maybe a hippie sort of sense of like there are these two energies that people resonate with, and they sort of teach what masculinity means to them and stuff like that. Do you look into that sort of stuff? Have you ever read?
No, usually as soon as anybody's talking about masculinity, I start cringing. But I mean, there might be.
Right. Because I mean, Destiny isn't exactly the paragon of masculinity, right? He's not physically fit, and even his way of communication, like he's based his entire career of communication, which is, I mean, it is feminine, right? Ironically, I mean, it's not strictly feminine, right? Like the ability to communicate well has been an important skill for leaders for generations. I just think that Destiny as a person needs to work on his physical fitness in order to inspire a wider audience. Although I guess he's inspired a very wide audience already. So what do I know? He's not the sort of man that I would want to emulate personally, is what I'm saying. But what do I know? I'm a man in a flaming mask, so.
Good guys out there. Just most of it is just like so like, I don't want to use the soy shit and say like toxic, but like most of it is toxic. Most of it is like a really poor understanding of like what masculinity is. It's kind of funny, and I don't know if they're changing their stuff.
Masculinity is protection and provisioning. It's the ability to protect and provide for your family. That's what masculinity is. Being strong, being competitive, fighting against the chaos of the world, accepting suffering. That's masculinity. Courage.
Stuff, or maybe just listen a little bit more closely. Tristan Tate just had a debate with some vegan guy yesterday, and he summarized some of it too, where it's like the idea like men eat meat and blah blah blah, and it's like this is masculine. Like a lot of it's just like cringe and stupid. I think men need to be ready to kill invaders. Like this is just dumb shit that doesn't apply to like 99% of people's lives 99% of the time, you know.
I mean, again, I disagree. It's not just the ability to hurt invaders, right? Although that is an important thing, because again, the world isn't this like safe, perfect place, right? At any point, the world could begin to collapse, and if you don't have the ability to defend yourself, then everything you have will be taken from you, right? So it's just something that's good to have, right? But with regards to men must eat meat and things like this, come on. You know, like, these are ridiculous things.
I think you'd find quite an interesting book called The Way of the Superior Man. It's not really any of that sort of stuff.
I've read this book by David Data. So the book is about, it's effectively platitudes that men can use to become better men. It's RP adjacent. I've read it.
It's more just about maintaining like polarity in a relationship, but not in the kind of red pill, you need to be submitted to me. It's not that kind of angle.
No, that's not true, because polarity implies one is the leader and one is the follower. So it doesn't, like, it implies submission by the woman, or submission by the man, but then the woman takes the man's role. That's talked about in the book as well.
I'd be curious to hear you talk about that, because that's the one area I don't feel that you touch. You've got the red pill, and then you've got like the soy takes, but there is a middle ground where people kind of talk about masculinity and femininity.
That's called purple pill, right? But purple pill is still blue pill.
Maybe a modern sense.
Maybe,
I'm just curious, yeah. I
don't know how to like actually change people's behaviors, and so much of that for me is so much like it's so much like a vibe or a feeling. Like I can usually.
That's womanist, or it's hyper modern to talk about the vibe or the feeling. Anyway.
Figure out like how confident or masculine or whatever a person will be, probably talking to them for like 30 seconds. There's just a way that people carry themselves, and I don't know how to like tell people to change that. Like it's hard to imagine. Like
there is a way. It starts with body language, right? An upright body posture, your shoulders are out, and you know, physical fitness actually helps with this, to carry you properly and to make you unafraid. Basically, a person, like a man who's masculine, is going to be unafraid of danger, right? Unafraid of conflict, not an easy target. They're not always smiling, they're not always open, they're not always agreeing, these sorts of things.
Like if I start chatting with a dude and he's like, "Hey, my name is blah blah."
Yeah, you see?
So what's I?
Oh, I forgot about the deep voice thing as well. Unafraid to take up space in a room, unafraid to project their voice, unafraid to, this kind of thing.
I'm even making fun of the voice, but it's not even really the voice. It's hard to communicate. There's just some people that you can just tell immediately.
Destiny has such a voice.
And I don't know how to change her, whatever. That's why I don't venture.
I know how to change it. You speak in your lower register, and how do you do that? Well, if you put your hand on your chest and you feel your chest vibrating, it means that you're projecting from your chest and not from your nose, right? That's the idea. You need to speak slower with less ums and ahs. I mean, you notice I do have occasional ums and ahs in my speech, but it's rare. The point being, it's better to pause than to say ums and ahs. And when you're in a situation where you're talking to people, you want to stand tall and not react emotionally to things that are being said to you. I don't mean be an emotionless robot. I mean have less affect, less emotional reactivity to things. Generally, the person that has less emotional reactivity to things is the person that's the dominant in the relationship. Generally. Okay, let's continue.
Venture into those fields, because I don't even know what like advice I would give to like how do you like reform yourself as a person. I know it's not by obsessing over what is masculine or feminine. Like I know that.
Again, that's misconstruing the RP. The RP isn't obsessed with what is masculine and what is feminine. That's not what the RP is about. The RP is about what gives the best outcomes to men and women in the long term. And as we know, society has never tried this experiment of female empowerment before. I mean, it has in the Roman Empire, and look how that turned out. But anyway, I mean, one could argue that the Roman Empire lasted more than 2,000 years, but it did collapse the same way that the American Empire is collapsing now. So, anyway, let's continue.
But I don't know what the advice would be. I'm not sure.
That's the thing I think the red pill gets really wrong, where it's like masculinity embrace. If you look at like the yin and yang symbol, it's like, you know, the masculine and the feminine together, and it talks about how masculinity has femininity in it. And I've noticed the red pill have started doing this thing where they're now scared of displaying any feminine traits, even though it's totally normal to have feminine traits, to the point that some of them talk about you shouldn't like music. I think I saw Tristan Tate say, "I don't like music," or
No, but you should vet your music. So what I mean is, if the music has messages that are destructive to masculinity, if the music is a psyop effectively, and there are songs that are like that, then you should refrain from listening to them, because music communicates to you consciously but also subconsciously. You will start to have the thoughts of the things that you're listening to and doing, right? So you have to be careful in your musical choice, I would say.
People like, I think Sneako talks about not liking dancing and stuff like that, and it's a really bizarre attitude, and it's so incorrect. I don't know how that's become the norm.
Obviously, that's ridiculous.
I think.
It's cringe. It's just cringe.
It's weird as.
Yeah.
It's weird as. Yeah. I'm sort of trying to work out where your biggest impact moments were. Like I've got my opinions on it, but I was just kind of trying to hear what you think.
I mean, probably the recent red pill stuff has been my biggest impact. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that. You pulled me back on a few of them. Like,
okay, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of them ones where I've always kind of, you know, been interested in like going to the gym and stuff, and so naturally you start seeing that messaging growing in that community, and you just sort of take it as given. You're like, okay, maybe this is how we're talking now. But then, you come along and just, I think when they sort of present a factual argument and there's no counter argument to it, You just kind of take it as given. But I think you've done a lot of work in that and sort of destroying that kind of red pill movement.
Oh, yeah. And they do a lot of work.
So Destiny went in and tried to dismantle the RP, but what was his actual purpose? What his actual purpose was to get likes, views, and subscriptions to his channel. So he doesn't care who he hurts to get what he wants. I mean, you've already heard. He is an internally driven person. I think he's naturally Machiavellian. He doesn't care what he says or what he does in order to achieve his goals, right? So he doesn't care that he's destroying by undermining the arguments of the RP, which actually benefit men. What he's doing is hurting men. So he's hurting men for money. That's effectively what he's doing. But he thinks that he's not hurting men. He thinks that he's doing good. And that's what's truly sad. He would be a very helpful ally for the RP's side. But of course, nobody has been able to convince Destiny to change his opinions because, I mean, he doesn't want to change, so.
Work themselves, destroying themselves, so, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that's going to be dead in like 2 years, or do you think there'll always be something there?
Yeah, I think so. I think within a year or two, I think it'll be pretty dead, yeah. But, I mean, we'll see, I guess, yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
We start? Okay. All right, guys. So we're just going to, listen, we're going to put this out there, which I usually would not.
This is on the Whatever podcast, and it's Destiny reacts to Amy proving Sneako lied about how good their relationship was.
Want to put any type of like private business public, but this was something that was brought all over Twitter, something that was made a spectacle of, and it's kind of old news in the sense that like Xena and Sneako broke up, but there was a whole issue with a girl, Lauren De La Grina is her name, right? Where she was essentially saying that due to this lady here and what she witnessed with her eyeballs from this lady here, she was able to definitively say that number one, Xena was unhappy, and number two, Sneako. So, what I found very interesting after speaking to her very briefly is that, I mean, Sneako maybe flirted with you a little bit, right?
I didn't even really take it as that, to be honest.
Sneako to me seems very cringe in his dealings with girls. He doesn't seem to know how to actually talk to girls properly. He never learned any game, so he needs to read probably The Rational Male or something, because he's not... His way of speaking to girls, he seems to not get it. And I saw that on the, you know, when Sneako was the RP Bachelor. It just seems to me that he doesn't know what he's doing.
Okay. So basically, I was on the Fresh and Fit podcast with Zerka, Sneako, and Xena had invited me on the show. And I was on there with Lauren. That was my first time ever meeting her. Super sweet girl. She lives pretty close to me in Orange County. And basically during the show, I was over on like the little couch area. So I couldn't even really see Sneako during it. I saw Zerka. He was talking the whole time, whatever. And
it's hard to miss. Yeah.
You see, like all these girls are attracted to Zerka. What a surprise. 6'5", charismatic, like he's Chad. So, what a surprise.
Yeah, pretty hard to miss. And afterwards, a big group of us had gone to sushi. And so when we were at sushi, there was like an open spot next to Sneako, like right across from him. And so he started speaking to me. He ordered me some sushi. And basically, he was asking me if I wanted to be on his stream. And so Xena, when she told me to come on the podcast, had already mentioned that to me.
Why is she talking so fast? Okay, 1 second. Let me slow it down. I don't understand. We're at, like...
Would you like to be on some like big streamers streams, like W promo, blah blah blah.
Right.
And I know streamers like they want like girls to be on there, you know, for more views and stuff. So I took it as like a business thing, and I was like, yeah, I might be down. And then so when he brought it up, I was like, oh, you're the guy she was talking about.
Right. 2 and 2 were clicking. Yeah. You were like, okay, let's go.
No idea that they had any sort of relationship. You know, I was just sitting there making conversation.
Right.
And so Lauren was supposed to give me a ride home. She had offered to drive me home and my friend home who I was staying with, but she just got kicked off the show. So she felt awkward eating sushi with everyone. So Lauren ended up driving her home and then coming back to take me home. And basically Sneako was like, do you need a ride home? And I was like, well, you know, like she was gonna take me, and Lauren was looking at me like, go with him, go with him. And so I was like, okay, I don't really care. It's 3 minutes down the street. Like, what does it matter, you know? Like,
Oh, I see. And Sneako tried to sleep with her, I guess?
maybe this is like a good person to know. Like, I work in social media. I do YouTube. We were.
Bro, I don't believe any of this.
Okay, 1 second. Let's put it back at normal playback speed.
My inner is, bro, Miami girls and the people down here are just on another world of cat, but okay.
Yeah, basically, like, she's trying to protect her reputation, but it's obvious that, I mean, there's something going on. Again, if a guy offers to drive you home, you know what's happening. It's gonna be bedroom fun.
Talking about my channel, all business stuff. Like, I really didn't think of it as more than that, and I'm not even sure it was. Yeah. And so
How does she talk so fast? I actually slowed her down to 75%, and she sounds normal. That's insane to me. Maybe Destiny just sped up the video. Okay. Back to 75.
And I was like, okay, like, we were ready to leave. I was like, I have to use the restroom. He waited for me to use the restroom. And during this time, and see, I don't like know if I'm saying too much. Like, I don't know.
No, you're not.
This is just the truth. This is literally just exactly what happened.
Right, and everyone's been waiting for you because we've heard everything from Lauren. We've heard everything from other people sharing their stuff and wanting to have a say, yet we've never heard it from the horse's mouth, which is why this is so important that you actually say this right now. You know, I think it's very important to
Okay, let's hear the end of the story, then we'll end the podcast.
let the truth come to light.
Yeah, and so when I was sitting there, like, right after he'd asked, like, do I need to ride home? And then I went to the restroom, I was, like, checking my Instagram, and Zena was messaging me, and she was like, you're my friend, like, she was, like, mad at me or something, and I was like, what is she talking about? Like, I don't understand. And,
Stop the cop.
basically, like, right before this had happened, like, she had, like, left the restaurant, and I think she was crying, she was upset, I didn't really know what was going on, I had no idea that had anything to do with Sneako.
You agreed to let the guy drive you home. You know what it means, and then you're wondering why the girl is upset. Okay. We're gonna end the video there. Yeah, stop the cap. Hit the like, hit the sub, hit all for notifications, drop me a donation like Hunter M, Adriana, Tom, and Bobby. Shout out to you, most recent Patreon subscriber. Thank you. Drop me a donation, I already said. Buy my books at bit.ly/heliosblog. Shout out to Curry Kid, most recent subscriber. Most recent purchaser of Strategist Guide to Seduction. My Patreon is patreon.com/theheliosblog. Support me on the podcast by clicking the description link. Scroll down to support the show. Share this video as well. Thank you so much for listening, especially if you listen to the end. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.